Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. But we are joined by a very special guest, one of the hardest working guys in the Washington football team podcast community, my guy, Manny Chokuba. How you doing tonight, Manny?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
You're so hard working, you're already on the move. You're already going.
Oh, man, Manny, it's so glad to have you on again. It's been a while since we last have you. You know, you go over everything. If you guys don't know Manny already, which you already should, Manny, Talking Sports with Manny does NBA, does everything. Go and follow our guy. But first things first, Manny, and I want to have a roundtable discussion here because it's been a huge point of emphasis on Twitter yesterday and this morning. Montez Sweat and his stance on the vaccination process after Ron Rivera had brought in a specialist in order to talk to him about the vaccination process. Manny, do you feel like you should be questioning Montez Sweat's thinking here?
Absolutely not. See, I work in the healthcare industry, and I was one of the very first people to have a chance to get the shot. And I declined both times. And I eventually went and got the shot 3 weeks ago, and I'm getting the second dose next Wednesday, so exactly in 7 days. So I understand where he's coming from. You really don't know what's in this thing, and then some people kind of want to wait and have that wait-and-see approach. Right. And that was me. I'm not going to lie. Even though I'm in the health industry and everybody's telling me, doctors and nurses, hey, go get the vaccine. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm not doing that. But now, I have family and, things are getting better. So I decided to go and get it because it was what was right for me and my family. So everybody has their decision to make. I respect it. Like Ron Rivera said, I might not understand it because it would be wise to go and get it. But hey, to each his own. So,
right. Hey, Hall, you just got your vaccination 2 weeks ago. You're all vaccinated out. Do you feel the same way as Manny, or do you kind of look at Montez like you're looking at his reasoning as dumb?
Nah, I mean, like Manny said, it's each its own. Like, everyone got their reasoning why for it or for not to get it. And, yeah, like you said, my reasoning was just for the simple fact, honestly, someone else signed me up. I didn't even really plan on getting it. But and my brother needed to get it at the same time because he's going to work at, like, the rec center this summer, being around kids and stuff like that. So they kind of, pushed him towards the side of, hey, you should get this, blah, blah, blah. So I had to drive him there. So I was kind of the mindset like, well, I'm already here. Like, it's just like drive him here and not get it. So I ended up getting it. But as far as Montez Sweat, I mean, like I said, to each its own. It's his decision. If you don't want to get it, if you want to wait a while, take the wait and see approach, that's on him. The only thing I have I wouldn't even call it concern. Like the little small problem I would have it is, say something happens during the season and all of a sudden you got to miss a week or two. And say it's like the last quarter of the season. That 5-game stretch in the division where we really need that edge rusher on the other side of Chase Young, and it's a crucial moment in the season or a crucial game in the season, and all of a sudden Montez Sweat got to miss it. That's one more piece on the defense that we're going to be missing. Obviously, the defense is great, and they probably be able to do without him, but at the same time, like you said, he could possibly spread it to the rest of the defensive line room and
I mean, you can spread it no matter what, though.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, and plus, at the end of the day, Montez Sweat's not the only one on the team that's not vaccinated. He's just the only one that said it out in public.
Right.
So, people complain about, I want these athletes to speak their mind. I'm tired of the locker room talk or the coach talk and the PC talk. Well, finally, someone speaks their mind and says what's on his mind and says how he feel. Everyone kind of crushes him for it. I don't understand that. Yeah. Never have, never will. But like you said, to each his own. And if he wants to wait and get it and feel whenever he feels comfortable to get it or don't feel comfortable to get it, it's on him. It's America. Do what you want.
Yeah, and I put on Twitter yesterday that I felt that there was something being lost in translation here with Montez Sweat that everyone was overlooking because everyone was pummeling him for his reasoning that he wouldn't treat it until after he caught COVID. And everyone's like, well, why do you wear a seatbelt and everything? Like, they started going after him. And the one thing that I think is getting lost in translation is Montez's viewpoint and his feeling on this, because me personally, I understand where he's coming from. I work construction. I've worked throughout the entire pandemic, 5 days a week. I wore my face mask when I needed to. I worked throughout the entire pandemic. I never caught COVID. I didn't spread it to my family or people I was around with. I worked throughout this entire process. Why now do I have to go get the vaccination when I've already been out in public? I've been around all these people. I've gone to 7-Eleven every day. I have worked with people between ages 18 and 70, and I haven't gotten it or spread it. There hasn't been an issue. Why now do I have to get the vaccination when I've already been out here? When I can just sit back and wait it out? And that's essentially what Montez Sweat, I think, is doing here. And him saying, I'm not going to take an Advil before I get a headache. If I get COVID, I'll deal with it. Once it's there, just like you would if you had a cold or whatever have you. Obviously, there's vaccinations for that as well. But for me personally, like, I've never been the type of person that I don't get headaches, stuff like that. Like, I don't take Tylenol. I don't take Advil. I never got the flu shot until the hospital said I needed to get a flu shot to see my baby niece when she was born in the hospital. That's when I went and got the flu shot. I don't normally do that, and I'm not sure if Montez Sweat's the type of guy that normally does that. If you are motivated and you want to do something, then go get it. But coming at somebody and saying they're stupid for their reasoning, I think it's getting lost in translation how Montez feels about the situation. Because I really do feel like you've already been out here. There's no reason to go do it now, because if you were going to do it, it would have been last season.
I feel the same way as you guys. I mean, obviously, that's his decision. I will say that some of the things that, like, I've seen people say, it's just like everybody just needs to calm down. Like, I understand why people feel very strongly about it, but like, it is what it is. I'm fully vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated for like 3 weeks, but if somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's on them. Even Ron Rivera said that. Ron talked today. He said that if that's on if he can't make Montez Sweat get vaccinated, so it is what it is. That's on him, and that's kind of how people have to look at it. Like, I got my second Pfizer 2 weeks ago. I got Johnson & Johnson the month before that. I got and then the Moderna one before that. I'm collecting them all like Infinity Stones right now. I can basically fly, so we're good. So, no, but I don't get it. I think that Montez Sweat, he can do whatever he wants, and if only 50% of the team is fully vaccinated, clearly some other people feel the same way. So you can't force him to do anything. The one thing I would be concerned about would be if those rumors of Montez Sweat having a heart condition before the draft ended up being true, and he ends up getting it and something happens. That would be terrible. But if those aren't true, which there's no indications that they were, then there's nothing to worry about.
Maybe that's part of his reasoning. Maybe he's like, yeah, I had this heart defect. People found something wrong with my heart. Maybe I don't want to affect my heart. So.
Yeah, and I will say a small part of me, actually I'm not going to say small, a big part of me knows Chase Young feels the same way as Montez Sweat. And the reason why I feel that way is because yesterday Chase Young, before Montez's presser, tweeted out, "You can be the voice if you want to." Talking to Montez kind of through Twitter, saying, if you want to be the voice of us, the 50% that don't want it, you can be that guy. I'm not going to take the helm this time. You can be it. And Montez Sweat did. And a lot of credit to him and respect for him, because he knew what he was doing. He knew how that was going to be received. And he did it anyway, and credit to him, because that takes cojones, my friend.
Credit to Chase Young for being like, I'm not going to take this seat. Not worth it to me. So you go ahead. You're good.
Well, he's kind of like the face of the team. And so for them, it kind of makes sense for them to say, you can't say anything about that. But Montez, he has a little bit more leeway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, Manny, I want to ask you, because a player today had a huge day in terms of having the last day of camp, and that was AGG, Manny. He had a one-handed grab, caught a touchdown pass from Taylor Heineke. What does AGG, in your opinion, need to do to make this roster?
Man, I actually did a video about AGG and Harmon, and I was saying that I can only see one. Or AGG, Harmon, Sims. Those are kind of like the same guys. So for AGG to make this team, he has to continue to play like his life is on the line. Like, you got to play like this is your last chance in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? You can't, say, oh, I was a 4th round pick. Who cares? You have guys that we've brought in. You even have a Dax Mill, even though it's 2 different positions, but the team can say, hey, we want to go 3 slots and, forget the big guys. So you got to play with a sense of urgency, and we're starting to see that. Last year he had the COVID and, no mini camp, no OTAs, no nothing. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. The team saw something in him to get him, and now he's finally starting to show a little life. And this is the first time that I've heard anything about AGG since he's been here in DC.
Yep.
All he did versus the Browns was do that little end around or whatever it was, which
it was like 5 yards.
Missed. I actually missed. I still have not seen that highlight. I've not
really?
seen anything football
You are
related.
Didn't he get like
missing out.
rocked on the sideline when he ran that too?
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
so this is his last chance. Honestly, this is his last chance, and I think he's going to give it all he has. And I think he's a smart guy. He just needs to put it all together and let his action match his faith, and he'll make the team. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I was one of the guys that was huge on AGG. We did a live feed as we were going through the draft. Me and Reed were on the call, and I was sitting here saying, "Get AGG, get AGG. That's my guy. Get him." But the thing is, we have to remember. I know Terry McLaurin and guys like Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. They come to the league, they blow things wide open.
Exactly.
Usually, the wide receiver position, if you have a normal guy, he's not going to blossom until the second year anyway. And on top of that, AGG was injured last season, coming into a kind of carousel of quarterbacks. The first year, everything was up in the air. After this offseason, having normalcy for the players, I think AGG is really starting to respond. Now, I will say he's going to have to continue the trend because we, like you said, Manny, we hadn't heard anything about AGG. We didn't know how he was going to look until the last couple days. So if he really does want to make this roster, he's going to have to continue that progress into training camp because I'm telling you right now, I personally think it's going to take a whole lot for him to make that 53.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you.
And the fact that the wide receiver room is so deep, and like you said, Manny, like him, Kelvin Harmon, and Cam Sims, they're all similar players. They're the bigger guys that you really this team needs, honestly. And if you look at it, Cam Sims, I think, is basically almost a lock to make the team. I think the way that he's playing, he's up there. He's the second level below Terry and them.
Yeah, the wide receivers coach had an interview with the reporters a couple days ago, and he just lit up about Cam Sims.
Right. And I will say I do think Harmon is probably better than AGG right now. It's just AGG does have a higher ceiling, and AGG was picked by this staff. So they're going to have to keep him or Harmon, I would imagine. So it'll be interesting to see who it is. But there's going to be a lot of good wide receivers that don't make this team. This wide receiver room is nowhere near as shallow as it was last year. Like there's going to be a lot of good guys that don't make the team. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and I want to ask you guys, Hall, because you're the next one to go, but do you think that the special teams is going to have anything to do with that last two spots for the wide receivers?
Yeah, that could definitely factor in. I remember, I know last week I said that between Humphreys and Dax Mills, it might come down to who's the better punt returner at this point. You know, he can contribute on special teams.
Right.
But as far
as
AGG
weird that
goes,
a white wide receiver we're talking about might.
I know, right?
Two of them.
I know.
Two of them, exactly. Two of them.
Our punt return's coming on to that? Oh, God.
But yeah, as far as AGG goes, as y'all guys know, I was never like the highest on AGG. I know the talent is there. The work ethic looks like it's there. But I just as far as like coming from Liberty, transferring to the NFL, I was never really like that high on him. It's just because like, you know, I don't know. But I definitely will give him the benefit of the doubt just because like everyone said, no OTAs last year, COVID season, no real like off season to kind of get acclimated to the playbook, to get the reps down with the 4 to 5 different quarterbacks, 100 different quarterbacks we had last year. So I definitely think that the key to him making this roster would be, for one, you got to stay healthy because that was your problem last year. You got to stay healthy.
Right.
2, I'm not going to get a lot of stock into him making plays on the last day of training of OTAs just because they're just wearing helmets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
if he continues into training camp, all right, we might have something there. But again, I want to see it in the preseason. I want to see it going against other opponents, not like your teammates you go against every single day.
Not against Troy Apke.
Not against exactly.
To make the roster, you got to do a lot of the little things too, like blocking and special teams. So
exactly. So I definitely think that Cam Sims is a 99.9% chance to make this roster. I definitely think it comes down to Kelvin Harmon and AGG, who can be that kind of second kind of big body receiver to Cam Sims.
Right.
And
I agree.
Like Reed said, at this point in time, I would probably go Harmon just for the simple fact of he's a vet. He's been in the league a year longer. I'm not going to say he knows the playbook. Yeah, he's actually produced. He has actual game tape of him being showing what he can do. So, I would probably go – it's 50-50 at this point, honestly.
AGG can finish a Rubik's Cube, though, in like 5 seconds. So that's got to be
the biggest thing for AGG right now is his height, and that's the best thing he's got going for him because nobody else really on this roster kind of offers what he does as a wide receiver, kind of jumping ability, everything like that. Now, Manny, on the topic of wide receivers, I know you talked about you did a video about Steven Sims, Kelvin Harmon, and AGG, but how do you think this wide receiver room is going to shape out? because you're very respected in the Washington football team community. I want to hear, because you're a big fantasy guy yourself, so you have a good idea for how these are going to shape out. How do you see the wide receiver room shaping out?
All right, now this might be a shocker for you guys. So obviously Terry is a lock.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown.
Right.
Cam Sims is a semi-lock, just for the simple fact of the production that he gave us last year. But the thing about Cam Sims is that he's only on a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a possibility. There's like a 1% chance that if Harmon and AGG have some kind of amazing preseason, then hey, it opens up something there. But I think Sims is a semi-lock, so that's 4, right?
Yep.
So now it comes down between Humphreys and Dax Mills. That's one spot. AGG and Harmon is another spot, okay? So what I'm looking at is, okay, maybe they say Humphreys makes it because he's a veteran. He's a nice slot, wide receiver. So let's say Humphreys makes it, right? That's 5.
Yep.
Now you're down to Steven Sims Jr. is not even in the equation. He's gone. He's already
Thank
gone.
God,
He's on the first wave of cuts.
Right.
He's at the airport right now, headed back to where he came from. Okay, so now it's down to Kelvin Harmon and AGG, and one of these guys possibly end up on the practice squad. It's going to be about how does Harmon look? Is that leg okay? Can he cut? Can he move? Can he leap? He dove for a catch the other day, which was encouraging. So it's really going to come down to who has more upside and that position flex. Ron Rivera likes people that can do multiple things. If you can't do 2 things, don't be surprised if they cut both guys and give a spot to Steven Montez, who's willing to play all 7 positions.
Or,
you know what I'm saying? So
Isaiah Wright's a versatile dude too that Scott Turner apparently likes.
Exactly. So I between Sims and AGG, I would probably say AGG for the simple fact that he was drafted by this front office and they do not want to be wrong.
Right.
So AGG makes it because of politics, and Harmon either starts off on the PUP or he's moved to the practice squad. So that's kind of how I see it shaking out. But there's still also a possibility where Humphreys gets cut in both Harmon and,
You jumped the gun because my next question to you was going to be Curtis Samuel and his injury right now, his groin, obviously it's a soft tissue injury. It is kind of worrisome. With that being said, and with the possibility of Curtis Samuel missing time in that slot position, does that change your mind at all about who would be kept on the roster if Curtis Samuel is badly injured? Because that would mean that Adam Humphreys would most likely be kept on the roster to play that slot if Curtis can't go.
I agree. I'm 100% with you. Humphreys then becomes a lock if Curtis Samuel is not okay. But then at the same time, if Humphreys is not okay, then Dax Mills becomes a lock. So it's kind of like we know who the slot guys are. We know who the big guys are. And an injury or 2, knocking on wood, can change everything. You know what I'm saying? A stupid behavior in public can change everything. We've seen that with Darius Geis. We've seen that when we had tons of running backs. We've seen veterans get cut. Yeah. So that's why I kind of say there's a slim chance that Sims might not make it, just because if the younger guys or the guys that we invested draft capital in pan out, then, they'll say, well, this guy is undrafted, and he's giving you the same production. And,
I got you. Keep going.
Yeah. And, he might not have that same ceiling as the rest. So it can go either way. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how this pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that from you. Now, we kind of talked beforehand, Reed, about the quarterback competition that was brought up by Ron Rivera, talking to John Kime, that he just wrote an ESPN article about it. So if you could, Reed, are there some quotes that stood out to you from Ron Rivera?
Yeah. I mean, Ron, he gave an interview. Obviously, he had a presser yesterday. He had one again today. And then, hold on, let me pull it up real fast. But by the way, so Ron was talking about the quarterback competition. He said he's noticed how well Fitzpatrick works with the wide receivers in the offensive line. He mentioned how Heineke delivers a good ball and also has a good rapport with his pass catcher. So he's been very high praising of both guys. He did say that Fitzpatrick, obviously right now, that he's with the ones, but that don't count Taylor Heineke out. And that's something that we've kind of been saying since he signed his new deal, especially you, Kyle. You've been talking about him actually being in the mix. So Rivera also said that he learned from last summer when there was no real quarterback competition why he wants to see one this summer. He says he'll create more game-like situations and maybe rotate guys to work with different groups. Rivera said he doesn't want the backup to go into a game never having worked with the first unit before, so we'll see them getting reps in camp anyway. And it's so good to hear. That's completely refreshing compared to the Jay Gruden days, when you go in there, you have no idea what's going on. Dwayne Haskins hadn't played a snap with the one, so he had no idea what was happening. But I think that Rivera was really embarrassed last year with the way that the quarterbacks played and the production that he got, as he should have been. So I just think that they got two guys that they like. So
yeah, I think Ron Rivera realizes that the probability of you making the playoffs every year with playing 4 different quarterbacks is very, very, very slim. They got lucky last year. So he wants to make sure that everybody can come in and step in right away. But let me ask you, Manny, how surprising was it to you to hear Ron Rivera flat out say there isn't quarterback competition for the starting job in training camp?
Look, Ron Rivera is just saying the right things. Right. We know who the starter is going to be. I mean, Ron Rivera wants stability, and believe it or not, that's why Fitzpatrick is here. Fitzpatrick is here to stabilize that quarterback room. Granted, Fitzpatrick is a guy that you can bench and bring back in 2 weeks. I mean, Fitzpatrick is a team guy. He'll do whatever it takes to make this thing work, but there's no quarterback competition. He's saying that to, elevate. He's kind of like a Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson knew exactly what to tell his team to elevate the role players. So with Heineke hearing this, he's like, Heineke's like, I'm bulking up. Coach says I have a chance. No, Heineke, I'm sorry. You're not going to be the starter. You even hear him saying, Fitzpatrick has the pedigree. He has the starts. He has the experience. Heineke has given us, 5 good quarters of football. Kyle Allen, he knows what he has in Kyle Allen. And it is what it is, but there's no quarterback competition. Ron Rivera is just playing the game the right way. He knows exactly what to say to get his team motivated. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter. He's probably going to start all 17 games. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think that Ron is playing everyone for a fiddle just a little bit here. I think he is being sincere about the quarterback competition because he does want that there. But I don't think it's by any stretch that the reason that Ron Rivera said that today was because Ryan Fitzpatrick is probably coming off one of his worst practices for Washington so far. So this is Ron Rivera trying to light a flame under Ryan Fitzpatrick, saying, look, I know it's been all smiles all week. We've had a great time. Your play's slipping a little bit. You got to click it into high gear now. This is when it's an open competition. So if you want this legit, you got to earn it, and it's got to be good because he was probably let down a little bit by the way that Ryan Fitzpatrick ended camp. And I will say, I think Ken Zampeace has a lot to do with this scenario, especially since he coached him in 2008. He loves Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think you're right, Manny, that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going in as a starter. But I do believe that Scott Turner is in the back of Ron's ear saying, give my boy a chance. Just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. And as much as there is a slim chance, he still does have one. Do I think Taylor will get it? I don't. I think something crazy would have to happen in order for that. Ryan Fitzpatrick would have to literally look terrible in all 3 preseason games.
Continue to see Fitz tragic, right?
Absolutely. So, I like what Ron's saying, and I think that he's smart for doing so because he's lighting a fire under them. What about you, Hall? How surprised were you to hear it?
I'm not really surprised at all because, like everyone said, if you go back to last year, and he pretty much just gave the job to Dwayne. As soon as the season was over, that was one of the first things he said.
Yep.
I wish I would have had a QB competition. I wish I would have let them battle it out to see who the better guy was. So I think that, like Manny said, he's just going into the season kind of for the locker room's sake and for to be like, hey, nothing's going to be earned this year. If you want to come out and be the number one guy, you're going to have to prove it, show and prove it. But again, everyone knows that they brought in Fitzpatrick to be the starter, the day one starter. Like Reed said, it would have to take something drastically, or Kyle, you might say that, I don't know, I can't remember. But someone said that it had to be something drastically bad for them to be like, you know what, we're gonna go with Heineke week 1. And like Manny said, we've only seen 5 quarters of actual good football. He hasn't actually finished the game. Well, he finished the Buccaneers game, but he was injured in that game. If he didn't think it was going to be his last game or possibly his last game playing in the NFL, he probably would have sat out, healed up, and get ready for the next following week. So with that being said, I'm not really surprised that it's a QB competition. But at the end of the day, money talks, and they ain't letting the $10 million quarterback sit on the bench and be a backup.
Right. And so another thing, Kyle, you mentioned Scott Turner. The great Zach Selby talked about Scott Turner a little bit today from today's presser. Ron Rivera actually talked about him, but this is a Selby tweet. He said that Rivera has noticed a comfort level and Scott Turner has risen in year 2 as being an offensive coordinator. So that kind of is right in line with what Cam Curl told us on Tuesday, that when we asked him who the most improved player was or who he's been most impressed with since coming back this offseason. He said, honestly, the entire offense. He was like, the offense just has a different feel. He's like, they're fast. They not only speed-wise, but like they move fast. Like they're constantly on the upswing. So he says he's excited to see the defense. I think that we all have something to really be excited about with Scott Turner. As we know, when Fitzpatrick is on and he's Fitzmagic, the guy can make some plays. And with these receivers, you never know what's going to happen. So I think if Washington's offense can be what they really have the potential to be, then this team's going to be very good.
Yeah, and so, Manny, I wanted to ask you because, you know, a lot of the reporters that were at practice would tweet out, you know, defense had a really good day today. Defense dominated. So the question I want to ask you, Manny, is that a product of the defense being that good, or is it the offense being that bad? And that should be something we should be concerned about going into the season.
I'll say it's 60-40. The defense is good. The defense has a chance to be elite. And when you have guys like Bobby McCain, position flex, can play the slot corner, can rotate to safety. So they can disguise some things where you got Kendall Fuller in the slot, and then right before the snap, both guys rotate, and you're like, why the heck is the free safety up on the line and then the slot corner playing safety? So the defense is disguising a lot of things that we need to realize that Ryan Fitzpatrick is new. He's new to this thing. He's learning the playbook. I mean, the guy is from Harvard. He has smarts. He's not a dum-dum. You know what I'm saying?
He's played for a third of the NFL, too.
Exactly.
He's been around.
So he's learning the playbook, and then you have a new offense. It's essentially a new offense. You have two new starting receivers, you know, supposedly. So I'm not reading too much into the offense.
Oh, no.
So
Manny's internet just crapping out just a little bit. Sorry, there you go, Manny. Finish up.
Yeah, I was saying, like, the defense is really, really good. The offense is not as bad as people think. But at the same time, technically, we are a top 3 defense. So you want to see this. Like, the defensive group is better than the offensive group, right? So you want to see domination. You want to see total domination from the defense. If this offense can score on this defense, then guess what? They can score against the other bum defenses out there. So that's just kind of how I see it. It's a new offense, new players, new system. Now, in training camp, if this continues, then I'm worried.
Yeah, right. And I think you're spot on with that because the defense, yes, they've added people, but it wasn't a complete overhaul. When you look at the offense, it was a complete overhaul, barring a couple positions where Terry, you know, and obviously Logan Thomas and stuff like that. But it's a new team, and so in a couple weeks, it makes sense for the really, really good unit that's stuck together outplays the one that's kind of gelling and getting used to each other. Right. It's just that's natural. In my opinion, that's going to happen, and this happens every year. The defense at first does well. They do well against the offense because they know what they like to do. They know what the audibles are. They know what they like to do in certain situations. It's easy for them. So I think it's a bit of both. The defense being that good, but also the offense getting through some wrinkles.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense usually hits the ground running in like all the preseason, off-season stuff, just because, like you said, it's not easy, obviously, to learn the defense, but you don't have as many roles and like as much stuff to like learn as far as the defense. It's pretty much, if you're a lineman, all right, bet. Am I rushing? Am I stunting? Am I going to twist on this play? Am I going to drop back in coverage on this play? Same with the cornerbacks. Am I in man? Am I in cover 2, 3, 4? Am I going to shade this guy? Inside leverage, outside leverage, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, like Manny said, if the offense was just going up and down on this defense, I would have kind of a little bit of concerns on the defense, like, are we really like slicing this defense up? Are they really gonna live up to the expectations? And like he said, if they're going up and down, if they're balling out on the defense, which is a top 3, top 5 defense, just imagine what they're gonna do to those average to poor defenses in the regular season. So I'm not that worried about it. Come week 1, I think everything will be hammered out. They'll be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Anything to add on that, Reed?
No, I mean, just one thing that I've seen a couple people that were a little bit upset or a little bit worried, they said, about the defense for whatever reason, even though the defense is dominated. And one thing they got to remember is that they're not wearing pads. This defense is built around fear mongering and versatility. Just wait, pump the brakes. They'll be okay. I promise you, they will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Manny, I know you're probably going to have to get out of here soon. But before we go, Jonathan Allen, it was recently, he just talked about how they are talking one another, the two parties, him and the Washington football team, on getting an extension done, and they hope to get it done by training camp. Do you think in the next couple of weeks it's going to be getting done?
Yeah, the deal has to get done. I mean, it's imperative because if you don't get this deal done, and let's say the season starts and the deal is still not done, and this guy goes out and balls out to an all-pro status, which it can be done because the defensive line in this defense can elevate this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he's an all-pro, then we're looking at a whole nother Brandon Sheriff type situation. Then the price has just gone up. So if you're looking at, let's say, 14 to 16 million, I don't know what the price is going to be, and you don't get that done now, and then after the season, you're looking at 18 to 20 if he balls out. So it's cheaper to get a deal done now, and I think that they're going to do everything that they can to keep this deal done, because when you look at the top 5 players on the football team, it's the 4 guys that are on that defensive line interior. Those are the guys that need to get paid in the near future. So you got to get these deals done. Like, what are we waiting for? Like, there shouldn't even be a conversation. Here's your money. Let's get to work. I mean, come on.
Seriously, dude. I can't thank you enough, Manny. You are very energized, vibrant, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know we've tried to get you on before, sir, but you being as busy as you are, being a family man, being one of the top podcasters in the community, and then on top of you working in the healthcare industry, I can't thank you enough for slotting some time out for us tonight, sir.
And thank you so much for having me, brother.
Of course, man. You have a good night, Manny. I'll talk to you again.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
You too, brother. All right, everybody. We just spoke with Manny Chokuba, my man.
Knows everything about every sport ever, by the way. That's the person that, like,
guy too.
Yeah, you got to take everything that he said, like, he knows what he's talking about. One thing I will say, Jonathan Allen did have like the best quote ever. It's such a Jonathan Allen thing to say too. When asked about his contract, he said, "I get paid to whoop people's asses. I get paid to stuff the run and rush the passer." Like, what a man. It's just, that's such a Jonathan Allen thing to say.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
It really is.
Look, now you know why Ron Rivera loves him so much. It's that kind of attitude, that demeanor where I just want to go mess some people up. and that's what you want out of a defensive lineman, to kind of set the tone for your team. Yeah, let me give a contract to that guy.
Exactly.
Dude, that's great. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, Khaleke Hudson, he kind of showed out a little bit at training camp. He had a pick. I know Selby said he kind of leaped forward. It was a really good thing. But then other people like Matt Paris of the Washington Post kind of were saying it was a bad throw by Ryan Fitzpatrick. But do you guys think that Khaleke Hudson is an underrated player right now?
Yes. Yeah, I think that Khaleke Hudson, he really fits the mold of a new age linebacker, but he's somebody who can he's so versatile. He can cover, he can drop back, play safety. He's a pretty big hitter, and he's a physical guy. And I think that he's going to do a lot better than people think. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to? No, I don't think so. But I think that he is going to make an impact on this defense. I think he will make some plays for sure.
Yeah, that's a guy that I did a breakdown on coming into his rookie season. Was really happy whenever Washington drafted him. Obviously, I'm a Michigan fan, so he came from Michigan. So I kind of already knew a little bit about him going into it before they even drafted him. But he was a great special teams contributor last year. As you can see, he stepped into a couple games as a rotational player. Had a couple tackles, made a couple plays here and there. I think that with the proper offseason, with the proper coaching as far as hands-on, and I think he can definitely get on the field again as a special teams player this year, contribute big on special teams. And I definitely think that maybe towards the middle, back end of the season, he'll be a consistent rotational player, and he'll be on the field making plays, maybe in that kind of hybrid Rhino role, maybe a Cam Curl kind of role.
Yeah, I definitely do believe that. With Khaleke Hudson, I think that he did play really well in that playoff game. Towards the end of the season, he was really starting to find his stride, right? But the one issue is that we've talked about it, because I thought that we were making a bad assumption by saying that it was going to be a 4-3 was base defense for this team, and I think it's a 4-2-5. And that doesn't bode well for somebody like Khaleke Hudson, who needs that time to get on the field. But with John Bostic being there, probably in front of him, and then having Cole Holcomb, and then drafting a Jamin Davis, that's hurting for him. But I definitely do think that Khaleke could, like you said, Hall, special teams, you hit the nail right on the head. I think that's the perfect place for him.
Remember that game in college, Hall, at Michigan, where Khaleke Hudson had 7.5 tackles for a loss, broke the single game record?
Yeah.
Man. He is a Wolverine, kind of.
Yeah,
he's smaller, he's feisty.
Yeah. Now let's get into our fan questions and would you rather. And the first one, we have to go with the Colonel. He says, as a JMU alum, he said, I've been keeping an eye on Jimmy Moreland. Have we seen his ceiling, and are we possibly going to be losing him, Hall?
I don't think we've seen his ceiling. I definitely think he has a lot more room to grow and improve. He's gotten better year by year by year. So yeah, I don't think we've seen his ceiling. As far as losing him, that's really tough to say, honestly, because the cornerback room is not as deep, but it's definitely a little bit stacked as far as like he's not the top dog anymore or towards the top dog anymore. Um, it's really a tough question, honestly.
Yeah.
It is.
I really think it depends on how he plays this year. To be honest with you, I think they like him. He's a good part of the defense, a good piece of the defense. He's definitely a good a veteran leader in that locker room
Yeah.
as far as the DBs go. But yeah, I think it really just depends on how he plays this year because this is going to be his fourth year, third year,
Third year.
third year. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he has a contract coming up. I think at the end of this season or maybe next season. So they got a decision to make. I would love for him to keep Jimmy Moreland, but I definitely think it depends on how he finishes the season out, how he starts, and how he finishes the season out.
I definitely don't think that we've seen his ceiling, Colonel. I feel like there is a possible kind of not miscommunication, but a misusage of Jimmy up until this point, because Jimmy plays a certain way. And I have a feeling like with Rashad Breeland with Jimmy, where, like we let him go, we don't re-sign him. He ends up actually blossoming into a good starting corner. And right now we already have some really good corners. So it's like he can't play where he should be playing, in my personal opinion. Now, losing him, I don't think so. But then again, I also didn't think that they would be letting go of Morgan Moses. So I can't sit here and say that it's not going to happen. But the reason why I would say that I'm more leaning towards no of not letting him go is because he's cheap. And they could keep him on for another year. There's no reason to let him go, lose that depth in a cheap part when you're kind of the cap is an issue, especially with Jonathan Allen's extension coming up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think that Benjamin St-Juste having a big day and obviously Fuller being better in the slot. I think that in the future that may end up causing some problems, but I think that they haven't seen Jimmy's best yet. I don't think that they've seen even close to it. I think Jimmy Moreland can really be a dog in this league. So I think Jimmy will be good for here in a little bit, and we get to see the best.
Yeah, agreed. Now, Tony Shivers are probably one of their best fan. If we had a VIP fans, Tony Shivers would be in there. He wants to know, who do you think
He's sitting right next to old dad?
Yeah,
Sitting,
who gets
sipping
the
on a
punt
bottle of
returner
Tanqueray.
gig? That's what Tony wants to know. Who gets the punt returner gig this season, Hall? What's your prediction?
It's a tough one too. I'd probably go if Humphreys makes it, it'll be because of his punt returning skills. So, yeah, I would go Humphreys. But if not Humphreys, I'd probably just go Humphreys. Honestly, yeah, Humphreys.
I'll go Dax Milne. The only reason I want to do that is because you want to go with the younger movement. They let go of Morgan Moses. They let go of these older guys to bring in the newer ones and the younger ones. And it would make a lot of sense if that's how they're kind of viewing this. With Adam Humphries, maybe they brought him in just to see what he produced. But if Dax Milne can provide what Adam Humphries does in a sense with punt return abilities and that slot positioning, it would make much more sense to go with the younger guy because New York, the Jets, if they allowed him to sniff the practice squad, and I think we've talked about this before, the Jets would be all over signing Dax Milne. They would pluck him right away. So I think Dax Milne would be the guy to get the punt returner gig if I was willing to bet.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dax Milne return any kicks. I haven't watched anything. I haven't seen him return any punts in college.
All
or
he's got to
anything.
do
I
is
don't know.
catch. That's all you got.
No, I know, but it's a little different. Adam Humphries is a proven returner. But another name that people are forgetting is DeAndre Carter. Carter, he's been a decent return man. He's somebody everybody. We always forget about him. I do all the time. But he's somebody who specializes.
We just signed him.
Well, yeah, I know, but anytime we talk about anything,
we
talked about a million times, I always forget him.
Yeah.
Even though it's not like he's going to make the roster for a receiver, But he's somebody who I think has a chance to make it if he shows out. And like we talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, kick returns really aren't a factor anymore with the kicks being moved up. So punt returns kind of. So I think it's between those three, and it'll be interesting to see who makes it.
Yeah, and Humphries is also like one of the best in the league at kicking into the touchback on a consistent basis. Now, our next one from Tony is a would you rather. He said, when you're watching a game, a sports game, big game, would you rather pizza and wings or burgers and fries? Reed.
So I'm gonna go with pizza and wings just because wings are so versatile. You can do so much with wings. You can make them. There's so many different flavors you can do. Pizza's tight. I like pizza. Pizza's delicious. It's Italian. Italians are cool. So yeah, I'm gonna go with pizza and wings, even though I do love a good burger and fries any day of the week. But for games, pizza
Yeah,
wings.
that's exactly how I feel. I love burgers and fries. I'll have those 7 days a week. Don't matter. But on game days, that's a specialty meal right there, my friend. And wings, none other. Because like especially when you're drinking and everything, you don't feel full after eating like grilled wings and stuff. Like especially grilled wings. You know, it's like the meat doesn't really fill you up. But if you eat fried, you're gonna feel full. You know what I mean? So I'd rather go. I'd rather go with wings.
Yeah, I mean, is this really even like a question? Of course, I'm
Right.
going with wings and pizza. Like, come on. You see my complexion? I'm going with the chicken. Damn it.
That's messed up, Reed.
Nah,
I
but seriously,
didn't
though,
say
like-
that. Well, it's
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
About myself.
not a stereotype if it's always true.
It's always true. No, that's a great one from Tony. Thank you, Tony. Now Liam wants to know: would you rather move one of the young D linemen and draft picks for an established quarterback, or would you rather try to find one through the draft? Hall.
Woo! See,
This is the question.
this is the question because it depends on where you're picking in the draft. Are you gonna have to trade up to get one of these quarterbacks in the draft? Or are we gonna?
Let's just
stand
say
pat?
they're floating right around where they are now. Let's just say from
So,
15 to
what?
20.
15 to 20. Damn, that's really a hard question. I would probably. Damn, it's really hard. I'd probably just stand pat at 15 to 20. Honestly, like I'm a big guy. Like if you like the guy, you see the guy you want, do what it takes to jump up to get him because he can turn out to be your guy for the next 10 to 15 years. But I know for a fact that obviously it's been shown that Ron Rivera and the front office doesn't really like to give up draft picks. They don't want to give up a lot of assets to get a guy. They want to build the core and then insert a quarterback without giving up a lot of stuff. So
Hey, that's what they want to do. What do you want to do? If you were the GM,
yeah. So all right. Well, if I'm the GM, I'm giving up one of the D linemen. I'm giving up a draft pick or two, and I'm jumping up to get one of these top
so he's saying to do that, it's for an established quarterback. So you're doing that for like.
Then. Oh, I thought you meant one of the rookies. All right,
No.
bet. Well then, yeah. I'm giving up a D lineman and some draft picks to go get a guy like Deshaun Watson, a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's probably not going to be there next year. Obviously, like I said, Deshaun Watson is probably not going to be in Houston next year. Who knows what's going to happen to Russell Wilson? Even though I think he's going to finish out his career there.
Yeah.
But those two guys would be my number one target going into the next season. If they can get rid of, or not get rid of, but they can do a sign and trade with Jonathan Allen, or a sign and trade with, or trade one of these D linemen, give up a first round pick or a second round pick to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, I am all for that because if we get an established veteran quarterback dropped in with this offense, potential offense, and this great defense, the sky is beyond the limit with this team.
Yeah, and look, Liam, I am of the mindset of the least amount of cost. Now, that could be one or two things. That could be by getting your established quarterback for very, very cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, for example. You could bring him in. He can do well for you. I think you can win a Super Bowl that way. But also there's the other aspect of you drafting a first-round quarterback and being able to excel with a top 10 quarterback in the league for pennies on the dollar compared to what his other guys are making. But so when I'm looking at this, I would rather go through the draft. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I want to be able to not give as much as I can to be able to get that production at the quarterback position. So if I'm going to pick one here, I would rather go through the draft without giving up a bunch of capital, without having to give away a player and draft position. I'd rather go through the draft at that point.
Yeah, Liam, I am all about the least costs as well. And how do you do that? Well, if you see an elite quarterback, you get a bunch of masseuses to accuse him of sexual assault, okay? And if you can do that and you can get Deshaun Watson for a lot cheaper than people originally thought, you do that because Deshaun Watson's going to be here for a long time. Hall, I know we've also talked about Aaron Rodgers. I agree, too. I think he wins the Super Bowl. I would love that. And I also watched the quarterback class next year. So far, obviously, every year somebody rises, people stick out. None of those guys are close to the last 2 years. But I mean, hey, if you like Sam Howell, if you really like Spencer Rattler, Desmond Ridder, if he flies up, then hey, go for it. It doesn't really matter how you get it, as long as you get it. It's usually I'm a draft nut. I want to go through the draft, but like if we're talking this upcoming season, you have an opportunity to get somebody like Deshaun Watson. That's the way you go.
Yeah, I agree. Now moving on to Scott Hartley, the Inquirer from the UK. Oi.
See, neighbor.
Would you rather be an amazing virtuoso at any instrument, but only if you play naked, or would you be able to speak only any language, but only if you close your eyes and dance while doing it?
Yo soy el hable no Michael Reed. I don't know. I didn't say anything right there. I don't think. I think you can do a lot with being able to play an instrument like really good. Like if I was the Eddie Van Halen of guitar, except for people had to see, the whole little package I got going on, then I don't know. I'm gonna go with being able to speak any language, just being able to speak French, just anything, any kind of hot language, and just seduce people, even if you're just dancing and you're speaking in Spanish.
Doing the LeBron dance.
Yeah, then you're good, because you can just the whole time you can just pretend like you're just like being like super flirtatious and cute, like so that's what I'm going with. I'd rather speak languages.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll have to go with you there as well. Because obviously you'd want to be able to play an instrument well, and that's something that everyone kind of strives for. I'm not musically inclined. I would love to be able to do that. But that being said, you can make a whole lot of money in this world by speaking languages and doing it like that. Obviously, I'd have to dance while doing it, but I wouldn't mind it.
Well,
So
real
languages.
fast, the one language that you couldn't speak though is sign language if your eyes are closed. So
Well, no, you
well,
can.
you could speak it, you just
yeah.
couldn't understand it, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
I see you. Okay.
But also, do you know
funny-
how blind deaf people communicate?
No, but how?
So what happens is they stick their hand out like this, and what happens is the person comes up and does the sign on their palm, and that's how they. Yeah, my
I
mom.
forgot that you're like
My
everything
mom
about
is
all that.
my mom's a sign language interpreter. And one
Right.
time I went with her one time, and there was an old woman who was deaf and blind. It was terrible.
So that's how
Yeah.
Helen Keller would have communicated,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
True. Yeah, it's funny you brought up money, because I was thinking of like I'd rather speak languages just for the simple fact of like, all right, it'd be cool if I can play like a instrument or whatever, and like, I'd be like the best at it. But if I got to play naked, how can I make money off of that? Because like I can never perform,
Right.
I can never perform on stage. It'd be
Right.
like, get out of here. You're gonna go on like some like a
Right.
pedophile list or whatever, because you're
Or
like naked
like
in public or
taxi
something like
cab
that.
confessions. You'll be,
Yeah, exactly. So if I wanted to like monetize it, got to go with the language. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now our next would you rather is from Prince. And Prince, you're gonna be on the show,
Oh.
sir. Don't worry, you're coming. I got it
Does he
scheduled.
like pancakes?
But in basketball game blouses. Now he said, would you rather
You in the waters of Lake
Like
Minnetonka.
Minnetonka.
would you rather the Washington football team make the playoffs with Fitz and lose the championship game, or miss the playoffs by one game after changing quarterbacks in week 11 and see Taylor go 5-2 and look like a franchise quarterback? So would you rather us with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a stopgap quarterback, would you rather go with him losing in the playoffs, or would you rather go with not making the playoffs barely, but realizing Taylor Heineke is the quarterback of the future?
Oh, I'm going to look. If we're losing the first round anyway, I'm going with you get the young guy, and you know that he's going to be the guy. Like if you Taylor Heineke plays that well, and then going forward, I think you're going to be set. So yeah, I think that I'd go with the young, especially like unless we legitimately have a shot with Fitz in the playoffs. But if we're guaranteed to lose in that first round, then I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'm okay with having Taylor Heineke be the guy.
Yeah.
If he's guaranteed to be the guy.
I'd have to go with Fitzy there. I'd rather make the playoffs. And if you make the playoffs with Fitzy as your quarterback, more likely than not, you can grab somebody who can give you that same type of production at the quarterback position. We have to be realistic about who Ryan Fitzpatrick is. His skill sets fit what this offense needs to do and get better at, but he's not a barn burner by any stretch. So if you can do that with Ryan Fitzpatrick, that means we are literally in the position that the teams in the 80s were, where you can have a rotation quarterback that can step in and get you and produce far into the playoffs. It's just clicking at the right time. So if I would pick one of those, I'd go with Ryan Fitz.
I would rather go with the Fitz one, get to the championship game and lose it, just for the simple.
Oh, you get
fact
to the
of-
championship game? I thought you said get to the first round and lose.
No, championship game.
Oh no, okay, champion. That's why I was like, oh, who cares then? You know, yeah, if it's championship game. Yeah. I'm going Fitz. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, I got to
right
go
there.
championship game, because outside of like the '91 Super Bowl, when I was like not even 4 yet, I've never even seen them make a championship game before. So I
Right.
would definitely want to like see that, experience that. Yes, I know getting the franchise guy should be like the #1 priority. And could it possibly be Taylor Heineke? Some people think that. I don't personally, but Also, it's one of those things where like if he actually was like the guy and they saw he was the guy, it'd be like a Pat Mahomes, Alex Smith kind of thing where like they would see him practice. All right, cool.
Right.
Taylor's going to be the guy going in next year. Let's keep rocking with Fitzpatrick. He's consistent. He's winning us games. He can maybe get us over the top, but say he doesn't. All right, now we got Taylor to get us over the top next year because we've seen in practice that he can actually do it and be that guy. But out of that scenario, I'd have to go with the championship scenario because, I mean, who doesn't want to see your team in the championship game?
Obviously, we all want to see the Washington football team have a franchise quarterback. Obviously, it's something that's never happened here, but I've come to the realization that it is never going to happen. I'm not going to expect us getting a franchise quarterback ever. We're going to have to do it the hard way, and that is building a fantastic team and having an offset kind of piece at the quarterback position to get us over the top with some good timing of play. Now, our next
Like them glory days.
Yes, sir. Our Would You Rather last one is from Charlie Gaddy, and this is such a good one. Would you rather have the current Washington football team roster with Ron Rivera, or would you rather have the 2016 Washington football team offense combined with this year's defense, but they're coached by Jay Gruden?
Ooh.
That is a pretty good question.
Who wants to take this one first?
I'll take it.
Ballin'.
Look, I think that with a good offense, Jay Gruden can be a very good coach. I just like his lack of leadership and like it's just so beta and like the things that he did. Like honestly, I feel really good about this team right now and in the direction that we're headed. I'm gonna go with Ron Rivera and this team right now. Right? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I don't look. I like that. This defense with the 2016 offense. Oh man, we are winning a bunch of games.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But you're not going to go with Jay Gruden all of a sudden. Then it's like you take one step forward, you take two steps back in the offseason or whatever happens. So,
I'm right there with you.
Guy.
I'm right there with you, Reed. I'm sticking with Ron Rivera, and the reason why. What was the biggest issue in 2016 for the offense? Couldn't run the football. What do you do in the postseason to get you over? You play good defense and you run the football. I really don't believe that even with this defense that they would have been able to do what they needed to do to get far. If I'm going to go with anything here, I am trusting Ron Rivera in the process and what they have put together here for the future. I am not going to bank on Jay Gruden being able to keep all these personalities in check, keep them hardworking enough, be able to go far in the playoffs and do well. If I'm doing anything, I'm taking the leadership aspect in this, and I'm going Ron Rivera all day long.
Now this is what's gonna make my decision. You already know I gotta go like deep dive, like third person, like third eye, like thinking about these questions. Is it Jay Gruden and his entire staff, or is it just swap out Gruden and Rivera but keep Rivera's staff? Because if it's just swap out Gruden and Rivera but keep the current staff with Del Rio, Chris Harris, all them guys, sorry Rivera, I love you to death, but Jay Gruden can step in and get them boys right. If it's the whole Jay Gruden staff with Manubsky and all those Bamas, hell no, I'm going Rivera. Be just for the simple fact of, yes,
it's their staff. It's their staff. So it's Jay Gruden's staff is what you'd be going with.
Okay, well then I'm easily going with Ron Rivera and this
There we go.
staff. Just for the simple fact, just for the simple fact of they're trending upwards. It's a discipline type thing. It's a hard-nosed kind of brand of football. Like you said, running the football and defense is what gets you over the hump in the playoffs. For most teams, not just the Chiefs, you just throw the ball over the field and see what happens. But I'd have to go with Rivera and the staff. I don't think Jay Gruden was. I mean, he was a bad head coach, but Duke could coach offense. I mean,
100% could coach offense, but
and how many times we always said like, hey, what if we had Kirk Cousins offensive with Jay Gruden and this defense, we would be running the division for the past couple of years. But like you said, the whole mindset of the team, like the whole off the field stuff, the whole confusion, the whole controversy could follow behind Jay Gruden and bring us down. So I would go with the disciplinary and Ron Rivera and this stuff.
Yeah, his team would be in shambles. Now, to finish this up, we always do our player countdown, and there's 91 days to the start of the NFL season. So let's debate who's the best player to ever wear 91 in NFL's history, Hall.
We talked about this before. There's not a lot of options because 91 is like a really obscure, weird number. But obviously, I mean, the dude's a Hall of Famer, so how can you not go with Kevin Green?
Yep.
I didn't know. I looked him up. I didn't know he played with the Rams back in the day. That was like kind of news to my eyes. I've always known him as a Steeler. I think he was with the Panthers.
Yeah, he
I
was
wanna
with the
say.
Panthers.
Yeah. I've known him as like mainly as a Steeler. He was like balling out.
Yep.
Like
Everyone
hard-nosed
remembers him as a
linebacker.
Steeler.
Exactly. That's where he
Didn't
made
he
his,
only play for the Steelers for like 2 or 3 years too?
Yeah.
It was something like that. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
It was
it
only a
was.
couple
But
years.
Yeah.
It was a couple years.
But
those-
everybody thinks
those
of him as a
years,
Steeler.
Yeah, those years like really defined and like stamped his career.
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famer. So I'd have to go with Kevin Green.
Yeah, look, I wanted to kind of speculate here because there's players like Tom Bahali, Ryan Kerrigan there. But the one name that I did have circled was Cameron Wake because I do feel like Cameron Wake has been incredibly productive as a pass rusher in this league. Cameron Wake got drafted in 2005, so he's been in the league. This is his 16th year. His stats, he's a 5-time Pro Bowler and 1-time All-Pro, 100 sacks and 22 forced fumbles. Kevin Green played in the NFL for 14 seasons, 2 less seasons, 160 sacks, 23 forced fumbles. As much as I want to give respect to Cam Wake, and obviously he's playing against different and better athletes you could make the argument for, but Kevin Green in 1 season less had 60 more sacks than Cameron Wake. It has to be Kevin Green.
Yeah, you can't really go any other way. I mean, you said, he had 10 double-digit sack seasons. He led the NFL twice in sacks, 2 different seasons. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Player of the Year in '96. He was named to the 1990s NFL All-Decade Team. He's, like you said, Kyle, was a member of the 100 Sacks Club. And most importantly, in the late 90s, he wrestled for WCW. So you got to go with him.
That's the
the
best
late,
91.
great Kevin Green. Yeah,
Absolutely.
He passed recently, too. It was like last year or something.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Thank you to Manny Chokuba for stopping by and giving us his expertise. That was great as always. If you want to check out his pod, Talking Sports with Manny, you could find them on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, all over the place. Make sure you guys check us out on Tuesday. We have a great show lined up for you, and we now have a couple-week hiatus until training camp starts, so none other place for you to go to than the Burgundy Zone for all of your Washington football team news and updates. All right, everybody.
Season is in full effect.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
All right, I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I am today brought to you by Dasani. Make the world
The
better.
worst water ever.
One cup of water, one bottle of water at a time.
The one water that makes you thirsty.
It does, but that's also kind of genius, though. You have to give it to Dasani. for
No,
that.
that's messed up.
Yeah,
All
because
right,
they'll
everybody.
buy more.
We'll see
buying
you on
more,
Tuesday.
man.
Washington football. Hey! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.